My name is Emma, and for most of my life, I thought I had the perfect life. I was 30 years old, happily married to the love of my life, Ethan, and lucky enough to have a best friend, Sophie, who had been by my side since we were kids. Sophie and I had been inseparable for as long as I could remember. She wasn't just my best friend, she was my confidant, my sister, my everything. And Ethan? He was the kind of man who made me believe in fairy tales. He was charming, kind, and everything I ever dreamed of in a husband. Together, they were the two most important people in my life. They knew me better than anyone, or so I thought. Little did I know, the two people I trusted most in this world were about to destroy me in ways I could never have imagined. It all started with subtle changes, things that seemed too small to matter at first. Sophie had always been close to Ethan, and I never thought twice about it. She would tease him playfully, laugh at his jokes, and often tell me how lucky I was to have him. "If you ever get tired of him, send him my way," she'd joke, her laughter ringing through the room. I would laugh too because, of course, it was just Sophie being Sophie. She loved me, and she was happy for me, wasn't she? Ethan, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to her comments. He would roll his eyes and smile, pulling me close and saying, "You're the only one for me." And I believed him. I had no reason not to. We had a strong marriage, or at least, that's what I told myself. But then little things started to change. Sophie began showing up unannounced more often, usually when Ethan was home alone. I'd come home from work to find them laughing together in the kitchen or watching TV on the couch, their heads a little too close for comfort. I brushed it off because Sophie was like family, and Ethan was my husband. They were my safe space, my people. Yet, deep down, I couldn't ignore the unease building in my chest. Was I imagining things? Was I being paranoid? I convinced myself that I was overthinking. After all, they both loved me, didn't they? The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday evening. I was cleaning up the living room when Ethan's phone buzzed on the coffee table. Normally, I wouldn't have given it a second thought, but something made me glance at the screen. The message was from Sophie, and it read, "I can't stop thinking about last night. Let's talk soon." My heart stopped. My hands froze mid-motion as I stared at those words, my mind racing to make sense of them. What did she mean by last night? What was there to talk about? My first instinct was denial. It had to be a misunderstanding, a joke, or something innocent. I wanted to believe that so badly. But the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. When Ethan walked into the room, I handed him his phone, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sophie texted you," I said casually, watching his reaction like a hawk. His face faltered for a split second, so brief that if I hadn't been looking, I might have missed it. Then he smiled, too quickly, and said, "Oh, probably about the surprise party we're planning for you." His words felt rehearsed, unnatural. I wanted to believe him, but something about the way he avoided my eyes made my doubts grow. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling while Ethan slept soundly beside me. The message replayed in my mind over and over, each word slicing deeper into my heart. Was I losing my mind? Was I imagining something that wasn't there? But the feeling of betrayal gnawed at me, and I couldn't shake it. The next day, I decided to confront Sophie. I invited her over for coffee, determined to get to the bottom of things. When she arrived, she hugged me tightly, her familiar scent bringing back memories of countless happy times. For a moment, I hesitated, wondering if I was making a mistake. But then I remembered the message, the unease, the lies. I couldn't ignore it any longer. "Sophie," I began, my voice trembling, "is there something going on between you and Ethan?" Her eyes widened, and for a split second, I saw something flicker in them. Guilt? Fear? I couldn't be sure. Then she laughed, loud and carefree. Emma, are you serious? Ethan? He's like a brother to me, she said, shaking her head. Her response was so convincing, so confident, that I almost believed her. Almost. But the doubts didn't go away. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more signs, things I couldn't ignore anymore. Ethan was working late more often, and Sophie was canceling plans with me at the last minute. They avoided being in the same room together when I was around, their interactions suddenly strained and awkward. My heart felt like it was breaking in slow motion as I watched the life I thought I knew crumble before my eyes. I started questioning everything, every laugh, every hug, every shared moment. Had it all been a lie? Then, one fateful night, I found the proof I needed. Ethan had left his laptop open on the kitchen table, and as I walked past, an email notification caught my eye. It was from Sophie. The subject line read, "I can't keep doing this." My heart pounded as I clicked on it, my hands trembling. The email was long, filled with apologies and confessions. Sophie wrote about how much she cared for Ethan, how hard it was to keep their relationship a secret, and how guilty she felt for hurting me. Every word was a dagger to my heart. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The two people I trusted most in the world had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I confronted Ethan that same night. "Ethan, I know about you and Sophie," I said, my voice shaking but firm. He froze, his face pale. "Emma, he started, but I cut him off. Don't lie to me. I saw the emails. I know everything." He sat down, his head in his hands, and for the first time, I saw the weight of his guilt. "Emma, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "It just happened. I never meant to hurt you." His words felt hollow, meaningless. I couldn't look at him. "You didn't just hurt me, Ethan. You destroyed me," I said, tears streaming down my face. I walked out of the room, leaving him to sit alone with his shame. The next day, I called Sophie. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. "Hey, Emma," she said, as if nothing had happened. "I know everything," I said bluntly. The line went silent for a moment, and then she sighed. "Emma, I'm so sorry," she said, but her tone lacked sincerity. "I never wanted this to happen, but I couldn't help how I felt." Her words made my blood boil. "You couldn't help it? You betrayed me, Sophie. You were my best friend, my sister. How could you do this to me?" She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but I couldn't listen anymore. I hung up, tears streaming down my face. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I filed for divorce, cut all ties with Sophie, and tried to piece my life back together. The pain was unbearable at times, but I refused to let it define me. Slowly, I began to heal. I focused on myself for the first time in years, on my career, my hobbies, and my own happiness. Through therapy and the support of my family and friends, I rediscovered my strength. I learned to set boundaries, to value myself, and to never settle for less than I deserve. And then, when I least expected it, I met someone new. His name was Alex, and he was everything Ethan wasn't: kind, patient, and honest. He showed me that love didn't have to hurt, that it could be gentle and healing. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. Looking back, I realized that losing Ethan and Sophie wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I learned to love myself and surround myself with people who truly cared about me. To anyone going through something similar, I want you to know this: you're stronger than you think. You deserve love, respect, and honesty. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. Life has a way of surprising us, and sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire and uplift.